Taylor Swift's newest album, Midnights. It was released this week. It is 13 songs, 44 minutes long. It is perfectly acceptable as a length for an album in 2022. Taylor Swift has been, I've come around to Taylor Swift, both in, because of doing this podcast and trying to kind of revisit Taylor Swift with, more seasoned eyes as a music reviewer, as opposed to just being a kind of teenage boy who just was not in the direct line of sight for Taylor Swift's music. But also, I think throughout her career, she's also grown as an artist. We've talked a lot about her struggles with having ownership of her records, just her own personal struggles as an artist, as a human being, as many people have. But you've also gotten, at least in my opinion, I think Sean would also agree with this, some of Taylor Swift's best work in the past couple years. I think.
Oh, 100%.
I think Folklore, Evermore, both of those albums, even though they came really close back to each other, we really enjoyed. Which was great because I remember really not liking Reputation or Lover or anything like that. So I think Taylor Swift has been at a good tip. So does that continue with Midnights? Mostly. I think the only thing standing in the way here between Taylor Swift and borderline greatness is Sean's pal, Sean's buddy, good old friend Sean, one Jack Antonoff.
I agree. I think lyrically, actually, this is one of her strongest records that I've listened to. The lyricism and stuff is fantastic. She really goes in depth on her own mental health struggles, her talking about her own depression and writer's block and a bunch of other things that I'll get into in a little bit. My issue is the way it's produced and the way it sounds. It's a really darker sounding record, and the way how Taylor Swift likes to make her pop records and everything, and even Folklore, Evermore, more indie or more alternative, it's more lighthearted or it's more folky, it's more lighter, and this one is so dark it makes her sound as if Jack Antonoff's trying to make Midnight sound like melodrama from Lorde. And that's where I think it just doesn't really hit well for her voice and the way that she likes to structure her songs and her lyrics and whatnot. It doesn't really mix very well, which is sad because songwriting standpoint, they're fantastic. Example, the opening track, Lavender Haze, I was like, oh, okay, it's a little darker and whatnot. It's a little bit slower with it. I kind of like that. And then you get tracks like Maroon, and I'm like, I'm not really big on that. I don't really like the production on it. It just doesn't suit her in that way.
Yeah.
But
go ahead. Really fast, I want to shout out something that one of the Ghost producers, Kyle, pointed out, that the song feels a lot like Bleachers, or that the album feels a lot like a Bleachers project, which is Jack Antonoff the front man.
It really does.
Because he's Jack Antonoff's the front man for that. And so we've talked about production from people like Madlib all the way down to people like, Kanye West, who have a particular sound. And
Andrew Godrich, bunch of others.
They have a particular sound. Metro Boomin, Kenny Beats, a lot of the greats, they have a particular sound. But Damon Albarn even. I think what makes a good producer from a great producer is the ability to create something that is the perfect blending of your talents as a producer with the artist's strengths and what they work well to. That doesn't mean don't experiment. I appreciate that this is kind of pushing Taylor Swift in a little bit more of a direction that I wouldn't even say is modern, but it's, it's tipping the hat to the darker sides of pop, you get your Billie Eilish's, that sort of sound, right? But yeah, you get songs like Maroon that are a little bit, off kilter there. I think Antihero right after that's song 3, is a little bit better of a fitting. And I think there are songs on here where I think Taylor,
Midnight Rain.
Midnight Rain down the street. I think I like Vigilante shit a lot. And
Dude, I'm gonna go in on Vigilante shit. There's a lot to that song.
Yeah, more on that in a moment. But yeah, I think, and let me also be clear here, I don't think any of these things, there are other producers on this record, and I also don't think that any of these things are because any of the other people on this album, Taylor Swift included, are not like pulling their A game here. I think they're all doing their best. I think that there's a specifically Antonoffy thing, and Sean isn't the only person to point this out. This has been pointed out and acknowledged online a lot right now, especially with this album, that there's a particular sound that people can make or break with. And how many times do I have to teach you this lesson, old man.mp4? I feel like this is a little bit of amnesia from last week's 1975 review, where I think I like that album a little bit more, at least on first couple of listens, than you did, or at least certain songs on that album, especially the songs that are more Antonoffy, so to speak, right? But again, it's that point I'm trying to make where the producer is getting in the way of the artist a little bit too much. One of the producers specifically.
Because the thing is, you have three fantastic female alternative pop, indie pop artists: Lana Del Rey, Taylor Swift, and Lorde. And all three of them, their past three records, all produced by Jack Antonoff, they're very similar. The way that they're paced, the way that they're structured, the way that they sound. I mean, we had that last year where you had the track from Solar Power and the track from Lana Del Rey's was the Chemtrails of the Country Club, and they're like the same damn song.
Yeah.
And even with this here is you get it to where now it sounds like he's like the way that they're structuring it makes it try to sound more like Lana Del Rey, more like Lorde, and not like Taylor Swift. And that's my big issue with this record, where she's trying to make a very introspective record, really opening up about her own struggles, her own mental health things, and other things that she really hasn't talked about too much before, because she's a pretty private person when it comes to that. But her lyricism is great, and like the songwriting is fantastic. But what's holding it back is what you just said, the production. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right. And a lot of Taylor Swift fans agree with me too. I've talked to several and they all agreed with that. There's a couple of them where they like certain songs, but they don't like the whole project at all, compared to Evermore and Folklore, which universally has praise. Both of us love those two records.
Yeah, and I'll buttress off that point by going to Snow on the Beach, featuring Lana Del Rey and Taylor Swift. I love this collaboration. I think it's both of them working at their best. I love the lyrics, and I can't help but think this has been memed a little bit, but I love a little bit of cheekiness when Taylor Swift says, "And my flight was awful, thanks for asking." I love thinking that that's a little bit about her whole like private jet meme thing that we even talked about on Audioface a couple episodes back, but likely not. I mean, it also just fits within the lyricism itself, but Taylor Swift is not above throwing Easter eggs and little like stylistic hits relating to how she is seen in her songs. But no, it's wonderful lyricism from Taylor, from Lana Del Rey, from like all folks involved. That's everything coming together really well. But there are other parts of this where like even in the album cover, it feels like a throwback to the 2013 Weekend sound of dark pop. Like even down to that, it's aesthetically feels like
dated in that way.
Dated might be a word, and I kind of agree with it, but it's also just like Jack Antonoff, again, I'm just going to put a lot of the blame on him here, not imagining more for Taylor Swift. This is someone who's at the top of their game, and like, you know, Drake did that dance pivot. I don't think that would have been the right thing for Taylor Swift at all, especially right now. Lord Christ. I mean, I could see like a remix, like some DJs putting in remixes of some songs like here or there, but like a whole Taylor Swift album, we're not ready for that. Like that's a Beyonce move now. That being said, Taylor Swift has a lot of range and she's at the top of her game right now.
Yeah.
I just don't think that that is executed as well in some songs in the top of the record. Now, I think this album is bottom heavy, very bottom heavy.
Super bottom heavy.
This album's got a donk on it for sure. Like this is, I really like the second half. I think after Question, which is a little bit of a, people have mixed opinions about it. What do you think? I don't really like
Question. I don't really like Question, and that's to me where the album is starting to get away from me. And then you get to Vigilant shit, and I'm like, oh,
Vigilante shit,
and I'm like, I like this.
Yeah.
I like the way this sounds. Like this production is really good, and that's what I'm saying. Like, the issue with this is it's like with the top half of the record, it just doesn't sound like something that suits for Taylor. But then Vigilante shit is something where you can make that darker sound, and the way she's like singing it almost like a spoken singing with it, it fits her voice very well. And that's what I wanted, a little bit more of that. But then this whole song is about Scooter Braun. And it goes in on, oh man, she pulled a Pusha T.
Yeah.
She literally went up, said, "Oh yeah, Scooter Braun does coke. He's been cheating on his wife this whole time, and his wife was okay with it until she found out that that he had a illegitimate child, and then the wife's like deuces, and then her and the wife patched up all the shit that happened when Scooter Braun stole the records, and then she's like hinting that maybe he's going to be in some legal trouble and stuff because it's maybe he did it illegally because he doesn't have the funds, and they're starting to lose money on all of her tracks. So it's like, you do you, Taylor. I have respect, fucking respect for that.
Yeah, no, it's a good song. It feels, again, it's a little bit stretchy for Taylor Swift's style because you can't help, I mean, I can't help but think of like, Red era Taylor Swift and all of those different things compared to this. And it's such a 180, but, it's a gradual 180. It's a good one. And I
It's a
think,
great one,
especially
yeah.
in the context, like, this is the most believable context for Taylor Swift. If you're following
100%.
this fan theory, and it's really, I think it's a solid execution. And it continues. Bejeweled, Labyrinth, I think down to Karma as well, are all great tracks.
I agree with that. I did not like how it ended. I didn't like Sweet Nothing or Mastermind really. I don't like those two tracks the way that they're. Well, Mastermind's okay, but Sweet Nothing just slowed it down way too much to the point where it like threw me off a little bit after Karma. And then Mastermind was okay, but honestly, if like they either threw Mastermind somewhere else in it, maybe more towards the beginning of the record, or got rid of it entirely on Sweet Nothing and ended it on Karma, that would have been a great run, and that would have been a great ending from Vigilante shit down to Karma would have been great. But that's where I have these issues with this record is that. And on second listen, I pretty much still think the same thing.
Yeah, I would have taken those last three songs and put them around the beginning. I mean, I get it. The album has an arc, but production wise, again, like these are songs and moments that you might want to introduce earlier on into the record because you're ultimately getting to the crown jewels, so to speak. No pun intended, like Bejeweled, Vigilante shit, etc., Labyrinth. And it's a darker sound. It's a more experimental sound for Taylor Swift. I think an artist like that, you need to build up to that moment in an album. And throwing those songs at the end, which I think would have been the best builds to that. Like Karma, Sweet Nothing, Mastermind feel like the songs where Jack Antonoff was given like the least mind, so to speak, right? They feel closest to what Taylor Swift is as a like artist, generally speaking. But I wish those songs would have been earlier, absolutely.
Yeah, you like 100% agreed.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have an arbitrary scale. I just realized.
Oops. Yeah. Arbitrary scale this week is going to be albums that come pre-installed on your phone. I don't know
So
why.
this could be any album.
Any
just like
album,
this
any
one.
phone.
Any album. Ooh, okay. This is
This is like getting. Ooh, actually, no. I have the phone. I just don't have the album. The typical nerd I am. I would say this is having Red on a sidekick.
Oh damn! All right, I like that. This is getting Coda from Led Zeppelin, which is like a really random compilations thingy installed on your Samsung Galaxy S3.
I okay. We do arbitrary
It's kind of
scales every week on
kinda
Audioface
rough.
because our review is our review, and if we gave an actual ranking system, it would ruin the fact that we just told you exactly how we felt about the review, and then just compare it to other albums, and it would just create unnecessary BS. So we just don't do that. Anyways, solid record. People are gonna listen to it regardless of what we say, but I think it is a good Taylor Swift record. Just folks
Being held back.
folks in pop, lay off the Antonoff. Just lay off the Antonoff a little bit.
Please.
Antonoff Anonymous. Let's just start going to those meetings. Keep up with the meetings.